Hello everyone, welcome to another video on An English on Porto, and we will be looking at the Europa League clash on Thursday, where Utrecht take on Porto on match day 4 of competition. Porto have gone into this having won 2 and lost 1, two narrow wins against Red Bull Salzburg and Red Star Belgrade, and a defeat to Nottingham Forest, courtesy of 2 penalties and a disallowed goal. In the league, still keeping that first place spot. What is starting to concern me a bit is I don't know if Porto have as much control as they did before or they played Benfica. But at least for the last 2 games against Moreirense and Braga, despite it being challenging at times, Porto still found ways to score and get the win. And they come into this as the away side, currently have won 1 and lost 1 away in the Europa League. However, you could say no goals have been conceded in open play. Even so, I would still say Porto are currently the favourites in this game. Currently only 1 lost, and every other, barring that Benfica game, have been victories. This will certainly not be an easy game. Utrecht was probably the other fixture I looked at and thought that Porto might not get a win in, as well as at Nottingham Forest. But still certainly the favourites, and Utrecht kind of like a Vitória Guimarães or a Santa Clara, or you could maybe even go as far as to say Braga, although Braga have made more of a mark in the continental competitions than Utrecht have. So I suppose Vitória Guimarães is probably the best example. But I would expect Porto to have most of the ball, probably most of the chances as well. I would expect them to probably be calculated, given that they're the away team, but I still think the intensity is going to be there. And for my lineups prediction, I think Farioli will start with Diogo Costa in goal, same back four: Alberto Costa, Jan Bednarek, Jakub Kiviar, and Francisco Mora. Nurhan Perez is still not fit. In the midfield three, I'm actually going to predict Pablo Rosario to start, given the Dutch connections, and also Alan Varela did play a full 90 minutes against Braga, and he's been playing a lot as well. So I'm not fully confident in this, but I have a feeling we'll see Rosario start, and I don't think it would make sense to drop Froholt or have Rosario, Varela and Froholt play together like it was against Nottingham Forest. A weaker midfield, and also Utrecht probably don't have as much of a goal threat as Nottingham Forest do. And then Froholt would expect to continue starting. I think Gabri Vega's going to come back, given that he came on as a sub, has some extra minutes in him. And then front three, not sure on right wing, but Pepe is probably the safer bet. With Boya Signs on the left and Samu up front. And to find out more about Utrecht, I'm delighted to have a guest on to talk about that next section.
So now we look over to the opposition point of view, and I'm delighted to welcome Dutch football expert Michael. Michael, welcome on. Tell us more about Utrecht and how they've been doing recently.
Sure. So FC Utrecht were a side that did really well in the Dutch Eredivisie last season, and they were up pushing the top table teams. PSV and Ajax were kind of pushed all the way towards the end of that season. They fell away a little bit though at points during the season, losing games they perhaps shouldn't have done, but overall had a bit of a surprise season and were up amongst those top sides. I think the main things to know about Utrecht are they before now have been a team that have been wanting to push the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the Eredivisie. And now under Ron Jans, a new manager, last season they were able to actually do that. Utrecht became a bit of a butt of jokes, I think, of people within the Netherlands for never actually quite being able to push the very top teams in the league and qualify for European football. And when they did qualify for European football in the recent past, they were kind of knocked out in the qualifiers. So for them to reach the Europa League group stage, it was league phase, I should call it, was like a big step forward for the club. And it's a shame that this season they've largely struggled. I mean, I've just finished watching them beat NEC Nijmegen 1-0, and before this win today, it had only been 1 win in 9. So not performing at their level best. I think the visit of Porto is going to be a really, really tricky one. And yeah, this is a team that have got lots of potential. They've got some good quality in there, but have been really struggling to show that of late.
And what's gone wrong in that time period this season? Because as you mentioned, Utrecht were thereabouts competing and even had a very good season last season. What's not gone right this season?
I think it's difficult to say. I mean, Utrecht last season overperforms. They finished 4th, and they're one of those teams that performed better than their XG suggested. I'm not one of those XG experts. I won't claim to be, never will be. But I did notice that was a stat that did stick out for me anyway, that they were winning games that they, on paper, were meant to. The stats didn't suggest that. Today they've won 1-0, but didn't have many of the chances. Was sat deep for large periods. But this was a team that became a really strong unit under Jans, and he gets that out of his players. So I think this season is kind of a fall back to the average, if you like. They are, after this win, back to 6th in the table. That's about where I put them, on par with the strength of their actual team on paper. For them to finish 6th this season, having been in the Europa League phase, will be a pretty good step anyway, even though it's a step backwards from their league position last season. But I think just pinning on little bits of what might have gone wrong recently, they have had a couple of injuries. Johan Catalin, he's a really good left winger for them, has been injured for the past couple of months during this time period that they've struggled. They've missed one of their main centre-backs as well more recently. And I think just generally confidence-wise, they have just struggled. They don't look as fluid on the pitch. They were quite good at counter-attacks before. They aren't really getting as many of those nowadays. And just generally giving goals away that they weren't before. They've got a couple of centre-backs that are quite aging, quite slow back four generally. Those are the sort of limits of their side, but they can, on their day, beat any opponent within the Dutch league. Can they get in the Europa League? We're still yet to see that, unfortunately.
And of course, Utrecht have Sebastian Haller. That's a player that many people will be familiar with, although I thought he ghosted today. What other players would you say to look out for from Utrecht?
I'd say definitely El Karouani, who's their left back. He is very attacking minded, runs up and down the pitch the whole game, has an absolute wonderful left foot on him. He'll take lots of set pieces. He'll put lots of crosses into the box. He likes to try and get involved more than ever now in the goal scoring action that Utrecht get up to. So he's someone to watch on the left side. He should have got a transfer over the summer, but didn't. So the fact they still got him is a big strength for them. I also really like Zechiel in midfield. He's on loan from Feyenoord. He is a Dutch youth international. He's like a CDM, but has been getting more involved in more of a box-to-box role throughout the season as he's gone on with games with Utrecht. Yeah, he's someone I like a lot. He's got a lot of strengths on the ball. Really defensively very good. Wins tackles, not just in his own kind of central area, but will peel out wide and support fullbacks. Good vision on him. I really like him. I think he's a really good player, and he will be important as well. Of course, in a game against Porto, they're not going to have too much of the ball, so his ball winning ability is going to be important. and with what he can do with that ball as well, setting faster, pacey players up top away. Aller's a good one to pick out. Obviously, he's had a really exciting career. He's done really well with Dutch clubs in the past, Utrecht and Ajax as well, but has come back to Utrecht and not really set the world alight, not really looked the player he once was. He's not as quick. He has a nice touch on him, but then doesn't seem to be as alert as he was before. That was one of his things before. It's like sharpness, able to get the ball past players and then have to release a shot. Not really doing that. I think one more might be Miguel Rodriguez, right winger, scored today. I really like him off the right side, and he's one of those players that I think's developed quite nicely over the past year or so with Utrecht. Watch out too for Adrian Blake, I'd say as well. I've interviewed him. He's an English player that's plying his try with Utrecht. He kind of broke through there from their academy. He's now first team player this season, and could be one to keep an eye on in the future when he develops some more.
Yeah, I'll definitely look out for him. And he also got the assist today. And even before the goal, Miguel Rodriguez was the player that stood out to me, having watched Utrecht today. And then up next, how do you think Utrecht are going to line up against Porto on Thursday night?
I can't see too many changes from their games today against NEC. Barkas will 100% be in goal. He's the former Celtic goalkeeper. El Karouani will be at left back. You've got Haremans at right back. He's quite a steady player. In defence, it's going to be Verheven and probably Matthijs Didden, who gave away a penalty today. If not him, it would be Eerdhausen. But Van der Hoorn won't be back in time for that one. So that's probably something Porto can exploit, is a centre-back duo. I don't think it's the strongest. I think if you put things in the air, they'll head things away. But I think if you get the ball on the ground and you can play through Utrecht, that's how you're going to get at them. Midfield, I would expect Ahil to play, to start with Ngwanda, and then perhaps Danny DeVitt there just in front of them. But I have noticed that of course, Catalin's come back from injury. Does he get a start straight away? I don't know. So then there's choice, of course, up top. Will it be Aller that starts or David Min? Either of those two strikers could play. Rodriguez will definitely play from the right. And then on the left, it will be Blake or Catalin, or Blake and Catalin will both play, and one will play as number 10 in behind Aller. So there are options. I think the biggest strength for Utrecht will be their defensive ability, the fact they can sit deep, they can get crosses away. They've got strong defensive midfielders. El Karouani is a great threat down the left. But it will be also how Porto can keep the ball because they give it away. They've got a couple of pacey players out wide that will try and take advantage. I don't think Utrecht are going to start dominating the game and creating lots of open play. I think set pieces will also be big for them.
And you'll be familiar with Farioli and Rosario, who came to Porto before the season started. Rosario came in August, as a matter of fact. But so, what's your prediction for the game?
Well, knowing a Farioli side, they're typically quite defensively resolute, but I've seen some of the Porto results lately, and there seems to be lots of goals in the games. Porto scoring more goals than I would expected Ajax to have done when he was with Ajax. So I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. My head is telling me Porto will win it like 1-0, 2-0, and Utrecht won't get too many chances. But my heart wants to tell me that Utrecht will finally get a result in Europe in the league phase of this competition. They were pretty good in the qualifiers. I don't know why all of a sudden it's plummeted downhill. Perhaps it's just a strength of opposition that is just a massive leap up for them. But yeah, my heart is telling me 1-1, and they'll get something out of it. That's maybe a mixture of head and heart, because I'd love Utrecht to win, but Porto are a good team.
As of now, I'm thinking Utrecht 1, Porto 2, but I'll finalise my prediction shortly, as we'll see later in the video. But Michael, thanks for coming on. Where can the viewers find you and your work?
So my name's Michael Statham, and you can find me on Twitter or X. We're on YouTube. We've got a website. So the website is called Football Aranya. Probably hold this up, get the spelling of it. There you go. Football Aranya. Replace the G with a J, football orange, and then we come up. We do a national team, the Dutch League, the Eredivisie, all in English. And yeah, come and check us out on any of those platforms, really. And yeah, we just obsessed with Dutch football and the Eredivisie. So come and check us out if that's your thing.
Thank you very much, Michael.
My score prediction, I'm going to still say Utrecht 1, Porto 2. I think it will be a challenging game to get at a win, or certainly a result at, but I still think Porto have the quality to get the result. And as Michael hinted at, Utrecht will or maybe limited in opportunities, so I think that'll help Porto. So yeah, I'll go with a 2-1 victory, and it's also good to know that Farioli's had some experience in managing against Utrecht. So yeah, I'm going to say a 2-1. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and your predictions below. Thanks once again and to Michael for joining. We will be providing some sort of analysis review on this game. Who knows? Might consider a live watch along for this. But yeah, all support and interactions are very much appreciated. And until next time, Forza Porto.